Hey there, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Now, Kevin Hart, he's got more side hustles than anybody. He's not afraid to work, and he's always got a new business going on. Well, now he has partnered with Hulu, and the Hulu publicist may have tried to keep this away from me because, they definitely don't get back to me. But I found out anyway about LOL Live, which will feature 10 30-minute sets from a range of comics. It comes from Kevin Hart's Heartbeat production company and premieres today. Comedians include Devin Walker, Chico Bean, Brandy Denise, Chinedo Unaka, Daphnique Springs, Justin Silva, Leah Sampson, Malik B., Sidney Washington, and the late Ken Flores. Flores' performance is the first long-form special ever taped by Ken, was filmed shortly before he passed away in January at the age of 28. Hulu will roll these out 2 at a time. Flores and Springs kick off the run today, Bean and Unaka on the 11th, Walker and Washington in August, Denise and Malik B. in September, and Silva and Simpson on October 3rd. The sets were filmed last summer during Heartbeat Weekend at Resorts Las Vegas. GQ did a lengthy profile of Ian Carmel and Ian's weight loss. We learned that Ian eats a lot of apples nowadays, and he looks a lot different than he did at his peak weight, which was 420 pounds. Interesting discussion here, GQ. With dating, there's always the feeling of, this person that I'm attracted to also thinks that I'm attractive. Something's wrong here. That feeling never goes away. Ian said, yeah, I thought you were cool, but you like me. You must be an idiot. There's that trap you get stuck in. People say it takes work, it takes therapy, it takes self-examination, it takes a lot of being actively aware. It's a lot like eating in a lot of ways. When you find yourself spiraling, a lot of what therapy and self-examination can do is it doesn't stop it from happening, but it does let you recognize it. Maybe it gives you some tools to try and slam the brakes on a little bit. If you could stop it and call it out, it doesn't make it go away. It's like when you're standing in front of a fridge eating your 6-piece pizza without having tasted it, but you have the tools to be like, oh, you're binge eating. Stop. Go for a walk. You know what I mean? They got into a story where Ian thought he was having a heart attack, but he went down to the street to call 911 because he didn't want anyone to carry him out. Ian said, that was my last straw. It was the entire event. What struck me after looking back on it was I was so effed up in the head and desperate not to be one of those quote-unquote fat people. I could never accept myself as who I was. I was like, oh, I don't smell like other fat people. I have a job. I dress well. I'm not like other fat people. I want the paramedics to be like, nah, I didn't even notice he was fat. It was another act of apologizing for myself. It turned out to be a panic attack, but panic attacks and heart attacks apparently feel very similar at first, which is effed up and not a thing that makes you have less panic attacks, by the way. In the moment where I realized I wasn't having a heart attack, I went back upstairs and I scheduled a telehealth appointment. The Hollywood Reporter talked to Andrew Schultz about a TED Talk he did in 2019 where he talked about how sensitive and politically correct the culture was. Their premise, the pendulum has swung the other way. Schultz said, yeah, it's like cancel culture and all these things. It's over. I mean, people can still get canceled. They still say horrible things about people. That still happens. So people try. You can make whatever joke you want. The promo I did with Matt Damon, one of the lines that we did but cut, was him going, what do you do for your special? You're going to complain about cancel culture in a sold-out arena? It's like, we can't cry about it when we're selling out. Joe List told No Film School that his new special, Small Ball, is not totally unlike his previous specials in that it's an hour of him doing stand-up at a comedy club. The big difference is this is the first one that hasn't been shot in New York City, specifically the Village Underground. This one we shot at Chicago in 2 different comedy clubs on 2 different nights, one Zanies in downtown Old Town Chicago, and the other at the Rosemont Zanies out in the suburbs. Then we cut together 2 shows, and I think it came out really well. I'm very excited for people to see it. I hope they leave saying, man, that was fun as hell, and Joe List is a damn good comedian, and I'm glad he finally fixed his teeth. Eliza Schlesinger spoke to GoldDerby.com, your home for comedy news, and I was thinking about Eliza. She is somehow outside the mainstream. Like, I feel like, there's like this, like, line of comedians that are all kind of circling around each other. Like, Nikki Glazer's, like, in the middle of that, and Mulaney's in the middle of that. And I feel like Eliza should be in that crew, but she's off, like, doing her own thing. You never, like, see stories of her, like, interacting with the other comedians. You know what I'm saying? Neither good nor bad. I just was like, oh, yeah, she's just kind of like out there, not in the mainstream for some reason. Eliza said, I started doing stand-up at 21, and then I became a professional around 24. My special started maybe in my late 20s or early 30s. Now I'm 42 and a mother of 2, so my job's to analyze life and call life as I see it. I began as a young woman talking about dating back when the internet wasn't everything and opinions on society weren't so constant. Over time, I've evolved to have a more concise opinion, from commenting on women to advocating for and validating why we are the way we are to telling other women they're not crazy. Now people show up to hear that hot take, reverent or serious as it may be. Speaking of serious, the ever so serious Hari Kondabolu spoke to the Houston Press. but I think he made some really good points here. Hari said, one big thing is the idea of selling out and how that doesn't really mean anything anymore. For me, it's the idea of what integrity means when you have a kid. Like, what's your focus? Is it this idea of artistic integrity, which is this vague notion, or is it that the kid needs to eat? I got to work, and what would I do for work at this point? He talked more about selling out and talked about co-hosting the Netflix food competition series Snack vs. Chef, which I don't remember. Apparently was a thing in 2022. I was hosting this podcast that summer. I don't remember talking about that at all, but Hari said maybe in my 20s I wouldn't have done it. It's not who I am. Now it's kind of like, I don't care. It's a fun show. And the one thing I'm trying to find a way to talk about is selling out is an ancient concept. Like, everyone's on social media. I feel like so many people have gotten famous from the internet. And when you're doing something on the internet, you're immediately doing stuff through corporations, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. These are all big companies. Every single artist has a public presence, and that public presence means working with public companies. So before, there was this idea of the indie artist making zines or word of mouth, and the album gets passed around. Those days are done. So the notion of selling out, I think there's a generation who doesn't know what that means, because from the get-go, they've been trying to create content for this corporate entity without even thinking about it. Selling out is the only path. Like, if I've heard of you, you must have sold out. Beetlejuice the Musical, coming back to Broadway. Yes, I saw this before the recent run closed. It's fantastic. You should go see it. And believe me, I'm keeping track of how many times I've said the name of the musical. So far, only once. You are not going to trick me into saying it 3 times. Anyway, that particular musical will do a 13-week engagement, October 8th through January 3rd. Beetlejuice, that's 2, originally ran at the Winter Garden Theater from April 2019, initially had low ticket sales, and then there was traction on social media and a successful Tony's performance. However, theater owners announced plans to force the show out of the theater to make room for The Music Man starring Hugh Jackman. How did that go? Those plans got delayed by the pandemic, but a show in question had to move. They went to the Marquee Theater, where it ran from April 22 through January 23. That's when I saw it and where I saw it, with the return of most of its cast, including Alex Brightman, who plays the title character, who I'm not going to say his name, but he was very good as that character. Casting for the new version of Show That Shall Not Be Named, not yet announced. David Cross has taken part in a new climate crisis video. He co-stars with environmental scientist Michael Oppenheimer, and Cross says, you got to speak to people in a way they can understand. Humor, as I think it has been shown over centuries, is a very effective way to get people to absorb information. In the video, Oppenheimer plays the straight man, saying heat records are being broken all over the world. In fact, last year was the hottest year since the industrial era began. David Cross interprets that message for lay people, saying, translation, the crap is hitting the fan, and the fan is on maximum. The video, released by the group Climate Science Breakthrough, has made videos with UK comedians like Nish Kumar and Joe Brand in an attempt to help climate science break through to many more people and unlock action. Ben Carey is one of the video's producers and says we're aiming to reach beyond the converted and depolarize the debate. Mike Birbiglia spoke to Vanity Fair and says the only thing he veers away from currently is politics. Biggs told Vanity Fair, Jon Stewart always said everything he did on The Daily Show was disposable. It doesn't live on. There might be a certain point in my life where I'm going to go all in on politics or culture, but if I'm going to do it, I'm going to go all in. He was asked who he trusts to critique his jokes. He said Hassan Minhaj is one of his favorite guests on his podcast. Pete Holmes, who's great, is one of our favorite guests. Is Pete still doing his podcast? That thing has gotten invisible. That used to be one of the big ones, along with like Marin and Nerdist. I haven't heard a thing about Pete Holmes in a while. I'm sure he is. Just opened up the app here. Yeah, it's still coming out every week. I'm just seeing Michael Costa a few weeks back. Harlan Williams, Dana Gould, Sklar Brothers. I guess he just hasn't had an A-lister to get that show some press. Anyway, You Made It Weird with Pete Holmes, a podcast I've apparently forgotten about. Is a good podcast. I digress. Pete Holmes is one of our favorite guests. He also lists his brothers, wife, and Ira Glass as people that he trusts. And that is your comedy news for today. If you enjoy the program, please tell a friend about it. They might like it too. If you would like this program without commercial interruption or feed drops, well, what you can do, if you're on Apple Podcasts, click the banner that says uninterrupted listening. If you're not on Apple Podcasts, go to calaroga.com/plus. Short version, $5 a month. No ads, no feed drops. You get this show and a bunch of others on the network, including 5 Good News Stories, which I host 3 days a week. It comes out 3 days a week. I host them all. I don't want to make it sound like somebody else does the other days. Nope, it comes out 3 days a week, and every time it comes out, I'm the host. That's how that works. 5 Good News Stories, and all that is part of Calorica Plus. $5 a month, no ads, no feed drops, and if you're on Apple Podcasts, click that banner that says uninterrupted listening, and on the Apple version, it comes with a 30-day free trial. So if you just want like 30 days without ads, click the banner, and if on day 31 you forget to cancel it, well, that's on you. See you tomorrow.